Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement. August 18th. Do you know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for these next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. Good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. And for the next 3 hours, you can join this conversation and be heard nationwide on your thoughts, your opinions, your commentaries. All you have to do is call us at 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And today there's primaries all over the country. Alaska has a primary that has become unusually dramatic because two Republicans, one named Dan Sullivan, is on the ballot. Incumbent Senator Dan Sullivan is seeking a third term, and he's facing former Democratic Representative Mary Petola, I'll say it right, and they're Florida's new congressional map is scrambling with several House seats, and it's going to be very interesting watching what happens with Democratic incumbent Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Jared Moskowitz have been pushed into newly configured districts. And the one Wasserman Schultz is in is a minority district. So a lot of people are going to be saying, does one of the several black candidates beat her, or does she then become a member or reelected as one with a black district. There was a time in Florida where you had several black seats. Now you're down to possibly one. And very interesting. Also, you see Trump is now threatening to bomb Oman if it gets in the way of the Strait of Hormuz. He threatened military action. I mean, we in danger with a man this crazy at the head of government. He is out of control. Let's talk about that. And of course, he attacked this woman. She wasn't black. Reporter from CNN for asking a question. Then went on line and stopped mentioning her children. We are in Never Never Land here. So call me at 1-877-532-5797 or go to our message board. I see you, Stephanie Humphrey Channel, saying, all right, Reverend Al, with the tan suit, you know, they are scandalous. You're sharp, sir. Yeah, I remember when President Obama got in trouble for wearing a suit this color, and I thought it was ridiculous then, and it is ridiculous now. The difference between, Stephanie, my tan suit and Obama's is to make people understand I don't care about them talking about tan suits. I have mine with a vest. I have a three-piece. Let them know if you miss twice, I'll get you the third time. That's how much I care about them critiquing colors. We're dealing with voting rights and all of these things that are being taken from us. That is being taken from us. We're dealing with questionable deaths in Mississippi with Nolan Wells, and in dealing with the police killing of Colin Ruiz, and people gonna worry about what color suit somebody wears. It is really, I think, a method of escapism. I think that we are dealing with a climate, particularly in our community, of escapism, where we are, in many ways, rather go to distraction rather than and gossip about it, talk about it, emphasize it, because we do not want to deal with the real issues. So we talk about silly things because we don't want to confront heavy things. But the fact of the matter is that if you avoid talking about them, doesn't mean they're going to go away. And if you avoid dealing with them, it doesn't mean they're going to go away. So the real point is to confront reality, not deny reality. And that's what we try to do every day. That's why we call the show Keeping It Real. Ducking the issue won't solve the problem. Ducking the issue will only mean that those who have power will continue to deal with issues that are not in your and my interest. So let's talk about all of that. I hope the people in Florida and Alaska and other places that have, I think it's 5 states having the primaries, hope you go out and vote. The whole argument in Florida, you have one seat that was held by African Americans, and we'll see who wins that. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running. There are 4 black candidates running. People tried to get a couple of them, talk themselves out of it, and they wouldn't. None of them would withdraw. which means they could end up splitting the black vote, and she wins in the district. And the other was a district that was represented by the one and only legendary black woman that her son then succeeded her. And he's very, very helpful to causes including National Action Network. Kendrick Meeks, his mother Karen Meeks had run it. Now his son is running in that district for that seat. So we'll see if he wins the primary today. More to the point is what's going to come out of this in terms of how we will be positioned to put the right pressure on the legislature in Congress to get a new voting rights bill to deal with health care, affordable health care, to deal with the issues that concern our community. The politics should not be around personalities. It should be around policy and programs. And that's why you vote. And if you're sitting up here with gas prices escalating, home entities escalating in price, and your vote being neutralized or being gerrymandered, and you wonder why I'm telling you, join me to march on Washington, you need to stop playing denial games. All right, I see you, Joseph Nimley, saying, hi, Reverend Al Sharpton, thanks for the show. I'm watching from Monrovia, Liberia. I'm planning to come to Monrovia. Keep listening. I'll let you know the date, Joseph. I'm planning to visit there. Demetrius Jones said, good afternoon, Reverend Al. Unfortunately, gas prices will continue to rise. Trump has created a total mess in Iran. Amen to that, Demetrius. Not amen to what he's doing. Amen to you revealing what he's doing. Let's take a break. Get ready to open up these phones. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton. Keeping it real. It's Tell It Tuesday. Tell It Tuesday. Be right back. Yeah, we can't adjust this where at the top don't.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people, and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announcing today, I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history. Is a house of justice.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke.
So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation, you must be disciplined and do studying, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country,
Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk, they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the structural change of this country. What Trump is successful on is playing on a weak structure, so he can make it go either way. It should not be so unclear that you can play the game either set away. It must be firm that you got to repair the damage done to the children of the slave and straighten out the structure that we are not 3/5 human. We are full human beings that built this country and never got paid. That's what reparations is. It is really a intersection of both emotions, because when I was 11 or 12 years old, so I watched the news a lot and I became enthralled with the image of Adam Clayton Powell. I was around 11 and I convinced my mother to let me come up to this church to see Adam Clayton Powell. And in those days, people in Brooklyn used to say it's dangerous to go to Harlem. And folk in Harlem say it's dangerous to go to Brooklyn. Now, to 135th Street, and I came, sat right back there, and Adam Clayton Powell walked down this platform. And I remember after the church, in those days, Johnson, the pastor's study was right inside with the plexiglass. And I knocked on the door and I told him.
You ready, sir?
Yep.
You're live.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. As we are on countdown mode to August 28th for the march, I want to bring on various voices that are imperative for us to understand on why we march. This is not an exercise in class. It is to really deal with some critical challenges we face at this point in history. And no one knows it better than the president and CEO of the Fair Elections Center. It's a national voting rights organization working to protect access to the ballot and strengthen fair elections across the country. I'm talking about Rebecca Carruthers. She brings more than 2 decades of experience in advocacy. Let me thank you for coming on, Ms. Carruthers. And let me ask you, as to start off, why is the August 28th Defend the Vote March so urgent at this moment?
The show today, Reverend Sharpton. August 28th is so important because we're not just talking about reclaiming this country. We're not just talking about fixing what is currently going on, but we're talking about a third Reconstruction. And it's important for the audience to understand that a third Reconstruction is about righting the wrongs and fixing the insufficiencies and deficiencies that was in our Constitution. And as we're rebuilding civil rights in this country, August 28th is about taking a moment in 2026 to understand how dire things are now and how it's time for all hands on deck.
You know, you are so right. I mean, it's amazing, which is also why at the end of the march, we must really give people instructions on how and what they must do at home. What, in your view, as the president of Fair Election Center, as we energize people there at Lincoln Memorial, what is the assignments that we must take on as we return people home that they must do around fair elections? Because we're talking about this very democracy is under threat, particularly in our community, but across all communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yes, Fair Election Center, we work to defend, expand, and facilitate voting rights in this country. But the call to action has to be even greater. This is about the next 10 years. The next 10 years is going to determine what our communities look like at the end of the century and going into the next century. So we need people prepared to organize in their communities, double check voter registration, make sure you have a plan to vote, understand as soon as your jurisdiction allows for you to vote, whether it's voting early in person or vote by mail, please do so. We need as many people as possible to get out there because we have a president who is literally saying he's going to use all levers and every tool that he has in his belt with the federal government to make it tougher for people to actually vote and for their vote to indeed count. And while I understand voting is just one of many steps of what we need to do to build this country into the country that it ought to be, we can't skip over voting. And I know people get tired of hearing, hey, this is the most important election of our lifetime. But guess what? We're in a cycle now that every single election is important.
Now, when you hear people say that voting may be in some ways interrupted or some kind of move the president might make to really interfere with voting in certain areas. How do you respond to that? How do we buttress ourselves to make sure those fears are not realized and that we on election days and early voting days are actively making sure that nothing is done awry?
This is a conversation that we've been having through our Campus Vote project on college campuses, especially on HBCU campuses. We're on 55 of the 107 HBCUs. And we are letting students know they are removing your early voting locations, like in North Carolina. In fact, we'll be at North Carolina A&T in a few weeks working with those students to make sure that they turn out to vote despite North Carolina trying to make it harder for them to vote. We remind people that, yes, the president is threatening to send out law enforcement, including ICE agents, near polling locations, but we want people to know that that is against the law. But how do we fight back against it? When people show up to vote, consider using the buddy system. Don't go to vote alone. Find 2 or 3 of your friends, your family, or your neighbors. Make it into a thing, because if there is a group of you all going to vote, you're going to have strength and protection in numbers. And so we need people to really return back to a sense of community in this fight. And so some of the young people are asking me, hey, Rebecca, so are we going to have a future? Are we going to have a country after this? And I keep telling them, yes. It is this has to be an intergenerational fight. It's up to me. It's up to you, Reverend Sharpton. It's up to many of our organizations to make sure that we are creating an opportunity for young people to get in this fight. But we got to all stand at the line together because the next 10 years. The next 10 years is really going to determine what happens next in this country.
I love what you said. That's part of the theme that I'm going to say that day. It's the third Reconstruction. This is bigger than one primary day or one election day. We're going to set the tone for how this country moves forward as it relates to all of its people. And people need to see the big picture that's before us in order to deal with the small part that all of us may play individually.
You know what? I've been going back and reading some of the works of our ancestors. I've been reading Ella Baker's biography this summer. The reason why I was reading her biography is understanding that she really laid the groundwork of what we should be doing now to fight back against fascism, to
Right.
fight back against authoritarianism, to fight back against those who want to erase us and to violently erase us and our contributions to this country. And so we've got to really lean in to some of the things that our ancestors did before us, because they fought this the last time and they were victorious. We get to be victorious this time as well. And this time, we also learn what happened from the second Reconstruction with the Civil Rights Movement. We learn what happened from the first Reconstruction after the Civil War. And this time, we got to fight to make this permanent. Because if a quote-unquote right could be given and then taken away, it's truly not a right. And so next, we have to be prepared to make changes even to the Constitution to enshrine our voting rights, to enshrine the rights of Black people in this country to exist. Like, we got to call it what it is. This is a wave of anti-Blackness that has been woven throughout the history of this country, and it's time for us to get rid of it once and for all.
All right. I really, really think you're on point. I appreciate you sharing with us today, and I'm very happy that you and the Fair Election Center is partnering with us for August 28th. Rebecca Carruthers is the president and CEO of the Fair Election Center, national voting rights organization working to protect access to the ballot and to strengthen fair elections across the country. Let's thank her for being on. Let me take a break. I'm coming back and open up the phones for your calls. 1-877-532-5797 Sharpton. Keeping it real. Be right back. Keep it real.
Voting rights.
Everyone look here.
Say it again, Miss Pearl. Voting rights. Voting rights. One more time, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. When do we need it? Now.
Yesterday.
What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now.
Is a house of justice. I see I'm in today's New York Times word puzzle, and they're asking what is Al Sharpton's title for short. It's Rev. I didn't know everybody knew that. But the people in the New York Times, they didn't call me Rev. They should call me Reverend. No. In many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock
but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. Well, Reverend, it looks bad now. Look at Iran. Look at what's going on in Minnesota. Look on. Yeah, but I was raised by them to realize that after storms, if we do the right thing in the storm, if we organize, if we register, if we do what we're supposed to do, there's always a rainbow coming out. The rainbow don't show until the storm is over. The rainbow gonna come out in November. The rainbow gonna come out in 28. We gonna fix these tricks in 26 and march through the gates in 28. We didn't come this far to turn around now. We won't go back. We won't go back. We won't go back.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
I've been to the Essence Festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. And Reverend Jesse Jackson said that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you, God bless.
It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified, and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
Yo, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It's Tell it Tuesday. Let me say by way of announcements, don't forget to watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now. And we are certainly looking forward this weekend to interpret what happens in these primaries as we get closer to the whole fight around how the Congress is going to line up and how the general elections are going to line up based on who the Democratic candidates are and how we deal with this establishment versus progressive debate. I'm going to have on some of the senators and Congress people as well as at least one governor to deal with this. Because at the end of the day, when the primaries are over, and I'm going to deal with this both nights on Politics Nation, at the end of the day, if you do not win, if you do not take the Republicans down, if you do not start setting the roadway, the runway for the third Reconstruction, it won't matter whether you call yourself progressive or establishment. You won't be in power. It's a totally useless argument. Totally. So watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5, both Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, you that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut corridor this weekend or live here, meet me at the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice, 124th Street and Morningside. Official address is 6 Hancock Place, but it's right at 124th and Riverside. You need to be there. I'm looking for you to be in the house. You that are not in the area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, on nationalactionnetwork.net, on YouTube/NAN, and of course on AME Zion Network. Also, I want to say that's Saturday. Sunday, you that are in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, the DMV area, I will be the morning preacher at Howard University at Crampton Auditorium, 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I'll be the morning preacher. I always try to preach at Howard Sunday before we had a big march, and they have invited me, and I'll be there. So many of you that are in the DMV area, come to church with me on Sunday morning in Washington, D.C. And we are a day from closing the buses down. If you've not reserved a bus seat, do it right now. www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can call the toll-free number at 1-877-626-4651. All right. I see you on the message board, Willie Franklin saying, good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton and Nan from 513 Cincinnati, Ohio. Love it. Elizabeth Wiley saying hello from Maringouin. Is that Maringouin, Louisiana? All right. Mayor Rodney Jones, the mayor of Queensbridge Houses, say I'm coordinating with Bishop Taylor for a bus leaving Queensbridge for the 8/28/26 March. My Shepherd talking with members of the community to go with us. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think Kevin Powell is saying, Reverend Sharpton, I would just like to say that when the Reverend Jesse Jackson passed away, I do not recall hearing anything about sympathy or compassion coming from Donald Trump. But when Charlie Kirk died, there were all kinds of sympathy and love. I think Trump released a statement to the family, but I didn't see any other things. Certainly didn't do it in a live press conference or something. Might have put something on social. But they were talking about lowering the flags for Charlie Kirk and all kinds of things. And I was certainly opposed to what happened to Charlie Kirk. But, I mean, come on. And let's not forget that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, the Republican Speaker of the House, denied the family's request to let Reverend Jackson lay at state in the rotunda at the Capitol, saying, no, that's only for senators or, elected officials. But George Republican Bush, made the exception, because it's up to the president, and waived it for Rosa Parks to lay at state. Trump could have, or Johnson could have, done the same waiver for Jesse Jackson. They did not. They did not. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Chicago, Illinois. Tommy, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
A pleasant afternoon to you, Reverend Sharpton, and especially to your listening audience. And for me, Reverend, I just got done listening to your sermon. One more river to cross, and you mentioned individuals being wilderness, and this ain't wilderness. This is just straight out insanity. I mean, you can't make none of this stuff. I mean, Rev, when you think of this particular political season, when you think of what all has been happening for the absolute, chaos that seems to be going in with the Democrats in a turn with just simply having a simple message, which would simply be, do you see this? Do you feel this? Do you understand this? I mean, disrespect all the way down the line, Rev. That's on a national front. But here in Chicago, these people, they didn't lost their mind. Here's a black man sitting up in the office of mayor, and we're sitting up here talking about unity and power and the ancestors who died for us to have the right to vote, and all these people are running individuals are running who openly support the insanity of the administration in which we're in. And, people want to call names, and I'm like, hey, no, call names for what? Why are we wasting time talking about a Stephen A. Smith? For what? When people should be listening to the pertinent information that is being put out on the airways by individuals like yourself, and now the clock is running out. And can you honestly say, Rev, in your heart and mind, what some of these individuals going to do that look like us?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a moment and a time to embrace your history, your culture, your understanding. And one more last thing, Rev, the thing that encourages me the most when I get a chance is not only do I get a chance to talk with you, but Rev, I have gone where you've gone, and I heard the same thing. Hook me up. Nobody listening to us and stuff. And then I hear you come, this radio station, WBON, a black radio station, under attack by its own people.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, Rev, as I close, because I know you got to move on. Thank you for every year. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you've become. Thank you for how you placed out the word of the living truth. This is truth. Lies change, but the truth doesn't, Rev. And last thing, you know what you told me? It said you take many steps getting up there to the top, but you'll see every last one of them people on the way down. I just want to ask, how dumb can you be? I love you, Doc.
Love you. Thank you for your call. And I see on our message page, Akeem Smith saying, Reverend Sharpton, A.G. Todd Blanche said on Meet the Press, he will not pledge that the DOJ, Department of Justice, will remain independent from Trump. Said it out of his own mouth. They asked him to make the commitment. He said no. Absolutely not. You have a sitting attorney general that has said on the record on one of the major Sunday morning television shows he would not commit to not being totally committed and aligned with the president, which politicizes the Justice Department. Amazing. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Tell it Tuesday. Be right back.
I've been in the Area Six Festival since 1995. I came that year with my mentor, and we spoke. Well, he died in February this year, but I want to continue what he taught us, because even when times look bad, even when they look dark, I remember what my mentor taught me, Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said, keep hope alive. Even if you can't figure it out, keep hope alive. Even if it doesn't look like you can make it, keep hope alive. In memory of Jesse Jackson, say that with me tonight. Let him know on July 4th from New Orleans, keep hope alive. 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 Thank you, God.
It gets dark sometimes, but the morning comes. Don't you surrender. Suffering breeds character. Character breeds faith. In the end, faith will not disappoint. You must not surrender. You may or may not get there, but just know that you're qualified and you hold on and hold out. We must never surrender. America will get better and better. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. On tomorrow night and beyond. Keep hope alive. I love you very much. I love you very much.
will matter 2 minutes after you gone is what you did for more than yourself. Think about this. Think about if today is your last day. If this is your last service, what can they say about me? And if you're not satisfied with your own answer, you should leave here today working on yourself and building on what you need to build. Because God is here, he's available to you if you but use what he's giving you to be more than self-indulgent. Now I know many of us come with reasons we won't step out. But I come to tell you that's why God is here. God takes the ones that are the least likely and gets the most done. As I have seen in my life, people that were the unexpected and rejected are the ones that end up the greatest. So don't let whatever mistakes or whatever things that may be in your past hold you back. God is not trapped in your past. God is there for your future. And he's there that every day you wake up was a divine decision he made to give you another opportunity to serve.
Voting rights. Everyone look here. Say it again, Miss Pearl. Voting rights. Voting rights. One more time, Miss Pearl. Voting rights. There we go. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. When do we need it? Now. Yesterday. What do we want? Voting rights.
Reverend Al Sharpton. And we're talking about the events of the day. Tell it Tuesday. President threatening Oman. There are primary days, voting primary Democratic and Republican in Florida and in Alaska and in three other states. And we're encouraging people to go out and vote. Our very future is dependent on how we are able or unable to deal with checks and balances in this present environment. So I really encourage you to deal with this. I see Joseph Simmons on our message board saying we voted early here in South Florida. Byron Donalds is a sick with self-hatred. They will indict him when they are using him. You know, it was interesting with all of this MAGA rhetoric. They came out yesterday and said that Byron Daniels had a felony record and had voted as a Democrat. And I think that it is crazy what they are putting up, but they will not be defeated if we're not on the battlefield. All right, let's go back to the phones. Let me go to my ace, Boone Coon in Chicago, Illinois. He's on the west side. He says it's the best side. Brother Frank, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, baby, now.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
I hear you very well.
My brother. I miss you, man. I'm going to tell you what the real deal is. This phone I got, I count them too. If I don't get a pickup of an 11th ring, it automatically let me know it's going to end the call. So that's what happened. Y'all been real busy. Don't think I ain't been trying to get in, but I got in today. And I want to say hello to everyone. And I've been listening, although I have not been talking, but I'm going to do a little talking now. First, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna start like this. Baby, now, you see what's going on with Joe Biden right now, right? I know you know. I've been listening to him.
Right.
Do you know, Rev? And there's something to say about this, their debate and all that stuff. If he'd only listened to us when we gave advice when I handled that debate and followed our script the same way, he definitely listened to us when we told him about the State of the Union, because he followed to the letter. He was not supposed to go out there and embarrass that guy. You had international reporters there, all the reporters was there, and revealed this guy for he is, a criminal, et cetera, just running off. And let me know this guy, but by you debating him, is legitimizing him even being in this race, and then walk off the stage. He's not worthy to be in this race. I'm not going to debate this guy. If you want a criminal for your president, want a 34-count convicted felon, want an adjudicated sex offender, and you want a con man, a flim-flammer, vote for that guy over there. For me, even debate this guy would legitimize his position in this race. He ain't supposed to be in the same, they're on the same stage, and then walk off. Definitely should have done. And right now, do you know who he would get reelected? Right now, do you know who be president of the United States of America, y'all? Right now, do you know who be the president? Kamala Harris.
Yep.
Right now.
Right now.
He would have got reelected. Right now. And I'm telling you something. I believe this was Joe Biden play. I said it from the very beginning. Didn't he leave him alone, stay in. Joe Biden was going to step down about a year later or a year and a half later. He should have stuck to that plan. Okay. I'm going to move on. There's nothing to say about that. What's really hurt me right now is Northern Wales, the Northern Wales situation. Okay, we're doing our part. We're trying to get justice for it. But the bottom line is this, Rev. The only thing missing that we had back in 1960s, you don't have now, because we got the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. of the day. That's you. Back then, they had Reverend Sharpton of their time. That was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But that voice, that saying, by any means necessary, has not submerged.
Right.
Okay, has not. It's not. And nobody wants up. I'm going to tell you something, people, just like this. We are getting justice sometime. We should be getting it all the time.
Right.
And they see this. You don't see no Mexicans, no Hispanics, no Asians, no Arabs, no Indians, no one being hung down there in Mississippi except for black people. Okay? They zero in on us like it is politically right now. But the bottom line is, people, whether you want to hear it or not, the only way it's going to stop. We're going to show these people, the loved ones that are left behind, that you are not going to get away with this. We got to stop handling it like the loved ones left behind Emmett Till back in 1955. Simple as that, y'all. Simple as that. Go talk to them, but you want to talk to them. We got to let them know, no, you're not going to get away with this. And until they start saying that, we are going to keep on getting lynched down there. Okay? And whenever we sit back and let that continue to happen, that just sets the stage for it to happen again and again and again. We're going to show them people, the Lord, we're going to show them people, you're not going to get away with it. You may have thought you got away with it, but you're not getting away with this. As simple as that, Rev. And, Rev, last but not least, I've been kind of downhearted. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of depressed. I really want to take my time and word out what I want to say, because I don't want it to come out the wrong way. But when we talk about keeping it real, being honest, being straightforward, sometimes we got to set things that people might not want to hear. They're going to try to steal this election, but we got to do everything we can to stop them. We got to make these marches, a boycott, or whatever. We just got to face certain reality, because right now, it is do or die. And right now, that's all I got to say right now. And thanks for taking my call. Remember, at 11 rings, my phone going to shut up, and I'm going to be able to get back in. So whoever answers the phone, if they see my call, if they want me to get you to speak, you got to come to me quick. You can put me on hold until you answer whoever's in front of me. That's no problem. But some of these phones are like that, Red. They lay ring for someone.
I got it.
And they're on. Okay. Thank you, now. Everyone have a great day.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad you got through. Thank you for your call. Let me go. Let me say this. I think that it is extremely important that we understand the issues and the function of the Congress. I'm convinced that some people don't understand the process, so they end up with an ill-advised conclusion. What I mean by that, somebody said, well, why is Hakeem Jeffries listening to the establishment in the Democrats? he ought to be listening to the young DSA types. And the person refuted it right away. He shouldn't even talk to the DSA. He shouldn't talk to these people. And it occurs to me that people don't understand the process. If Hakeem Jeffries is going to be the speaker, if the Democrats regain the House majority, he can only do that if he's talking to everybody and all of the Democrats vote for him to be speaker. I mean, do we even think before we start running our mouth or getting up on message boards or tweeting stuff? He can't take one side of the Democratic caucus against another side and expect all sides to vote for him to be speaker. He's got to be able to unite the Democratic caucus, empower them. As I said yesterday, if you empower them, who's chair of the Judiciary Committee, who's chair of Commerce, who's chair of Ways and Means, on and on, they can subpoena the people in the Trump administration, the Attorney General, all of them, the people in private industries, and put your hand up, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. Have to swear, man. And then they are tried like they're in a courtroom, because if you lie under oath in the Congress, it's a criminal act, you can go to jail. So you can either force them to plead the fifth, which means that they are guilty of whatever you're asking, or to answer the question. I said in Atlanta last Thursday at the NABJ, if Hakeem gets to be the speaker, and it's all going to be up to us to vote in our local areas to get the Democrats in, they will then appoint the Democrat to head the Judiciary Committee, and if they have not given justice to Nolan Wells' family, we can subpoena those young men to Washington and make them answer under oath. That's another thing speakers could do. But a lot of us don't take time to even analyze, well, it ain't gonna mean nothing. It's gonna mean everything. And I think that it is absolutely, unequivocally important. I think the other thing is that we've got to give people room to grow and room to get things done what needs to be done. And I agree with you, Hakeem Smith says Democrats get both houses of Congress, Reverend Sharpton, that would be even more powerful. And I agree. And I think that, and it's not just about what will do the career for Hakeem, it's what it will do to handle and deal with our problems that we're facing, our situations. That's what's imperative. All right, let's take a break. I'm taking your calls, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. It's hot. It's going. It is red hot on Tell It Tuesday. That's when we get the hot discussion going. You got something to say, call 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
that I want to end. He talked about the dry bones in the valley.
I'll tell you that.
The only reason that the wind could blow life into the bones is because at some point they had to be connected. If the wind had blown into a disconnected body, it still wouldn't have worked. So before he prophesied to the wind, they had to first get the foot bone to connect to the ankle bone, and the ankle bone to the calf bone, and to the knee bone, and the knee bone to the thigh bone. If we are to prophesy to the wind, we must first connect this body. We must connect Eddie Long to Farrakhan and Cornel West to Elders and Lowry to Sharpton. If we can connect this body, then God will blow the breath of life into our community. But as long as we are disconnected, the wind can't blow because it's blowing on disconnected dry bones. But the good news is that we're the children of people that have been through worse than this, and we're still here. So even though I get despondent, I don't ever get depressed, because I want the world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. But you don't know who we are. We're the children of Chaka Zulu. We're the children of Mary McLeod Bethune. We're the children of Marcus Garvey. We're the children of Martin Luther King. We'll be here. We were first and we'll be last. We know who we are. When he came to go speak at the UN, he said, I'd first go to Harlem to see those that fought for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we keep it hung up in the house.
It's a great photo. Yeah.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes Black. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started in Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP would have been together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation. Then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in the Senate.
Thank God I was blessed to have both in my life. Both historic, strong figures. But if I misuse them and listen to not only figures that are not as historic as them, but figures that had nothing to do with the calling and purpose of my life, I would live confused. I'd be double-minded. I'm clear. And what I want you to do is be clear. Clear on who you are and why you are. And a lot of that will be exposed to you and others by who you are around and who you allow to enter your head. Keep people at a distance that only have a distant and unclear vision of who you are and who you are supposed to be. They could be your blood relatives, but they could not be the ones that accompany you toward what you ought to be about tonight. Everybody good to you ain't good for you. Everybody that makes you laugh sometimes end up making you a joke. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Let's go to Rick in Germany. Call it in from Germany, Brother Rick.
Good day, Brother Sharpton. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine.
I just got one question for you. Was Franklin Delano Roosevelt a democratic socialist?
I think that he was, yes. I think that's how he was identified, yes.
I don't know if the democratic socialists of today can carry his belt, but I'm hoping and praying that a number of them can live up to what he did in the 30s and do even better, do even more as a group and not just as one man. Brother Sharpton, I'm done.
All right, thank you for your call. I think that it's an interesting point that that Rick raises, because sometimes we get more into labels than we get into content. I'm a Democratic Socialist. I'm a Democratic Regular. I'm a Republican. I'm a MAGA. Okay, fine. Everybody go to your corner and be what you're going to be. Now then tell me what you stand for. And most folk can't tell us that. That's why I invite everybody to the march, August 28th. From Hakeem, who'll be there, to AOC, who'll be there, to Senator Sanders, who'll be there, to some of those that are anti that. Because all of them need to be there standing for voting. That's why you need to be there. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, what side of the ideological monitor you want to put on people. We all need to be there to say you got to restore the right to vote. Otherwise, you're arguing about nothing. And I think a lot of us fall into that bag of wanting to deal with labels rather than dealing with what is the content, where's the beef. All right, let's go back to the phone. Let me go to Brother Jihad, the sage of the South. Brother Jihad, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, Reverend Al, how we doing today?
I'm doing very well. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hey, you know what I was thinking? Last week I called, and I just wanted to reiterate something and bring something else to the attention. We say that 300,000+ black women lost their jobs, with these Trump cuts.
Right.
Rev, you think we can get about 25,000 of them to come to the march?
Well said. I may need to do a commercial saying that.
I'm telling you, Rev.
Yeah.
All of the things we complain about, the health care, the SNAP benefit, hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million people on SNAP. You think we can get 25,000, 30,000 of them to show up?
Yeah. Yeah.
You would think so, Rev. The cutting off of the education, the cuts to education. You think we're going to get like 25,000 students?
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? What are we asking for? And I like the way you say that. What are we asking for out of this group? Something's wrong, Rev.
Yeah.
This march should be the biggest march rivaling the Million Man March.
Right.
Based upon the condition that exists and the issues that we're facing. We have, and I'm really disappointed even at our local station. The only time we hear about the march is when you talk. Every station in the country, every group, every TV station, every podcast should be talking about this march.
You're right.
There's no way that only one voice should be talking about this particular march when this particular situation is affecting millions of people. It's insane. It's like we done been put to sleep, and you trying to prick us to wake us up, and 99% of us don't want to get up.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
And some of them get mad for you shaking them trying to wake you up.
That's exactly right. You know what I mean? And I'm truly disappointed because every station, every talk show, every radio station, every morning show, Tom Jones, all of them should be talking about this major march taking place to show how we feel about this current condition. The voter rights people, those people, all of them should be there. And I'm going to say this too, every black leader, a so-called black leader in the country, should be talking to his people about this particular march. Preachers should be talking. Imams should be talking. Are we real or aren't we real? Are we asleep?
I love it.
I mean, it's amazing, Rev. You know what I mean? And then I think one of your callers talked last week where I got a little frustrated hearing people complaining about the different Democrats and what the issue was. And I just want to remind them that, it reminds me of the Super Bowl is coming this election. You know what I mean? November is going to be the voting rights Super Bowl. And they're arguing over the training camp. Who gets to make the team? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this is all training camp right now. The Super Bowl is November. Yeah. You right.
Yeah, the Super Bowl. So we don't need to worry about who on the team now. Whoever on the team got to play the game. So we just try to pump up the people and prepare the people that's on the team. Not who should have made the team or who didn't make the team, et cetera, et cetera. Right now we almost know 90%, 100% who's going to be on the team. So the argument about Democrat and this, which Democrat and which Republican, which this and that don't make no sense to me. And it frustrated me so much that I said, okay, well, y'all arguing about that, just vote for Trump.
Right.
Leave me alone. Just vote for Trump.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it doesn't make sense.
Because that's what they're doing. You right?
That's exactly what they're doing. You know what I mean? So I don't know what we got to do to get these local leaders and all these people to get excited about this situation, at least talk about it, even if they don't come themselves. But we should have at least 250, almost 500,000 people in Washington on the 28th, based upon what we're up against.
Up against, you know what I mean? Required. That's right.
It's a sad situation. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But
I really think. No, I share your frustration and appreciate you expressing it straight up. I thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. More of you on the phones. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
Keeping it real.
Reverend Sharpton, how do we begin to make peace with our past?
I don't think it's our obligation to make peace with our past. I think it's our obligation to learn from our past and to understand that soon we gonna be the past. I mean, a lot of us act like we gonna be permanent and that the past is the past. If we draw on the strengths of the past and uphold the dignity and the integrity of our people, and then perform it at our highest level in our generation, as Dr. Moss said, that's our obligation. You know, one of the reasons that I've been so concerned about this cultural tone that we're in now is a lot of us have lost the dignity that our community has shown from Jamestown to now. I've questioned some of the artists that no longer sing to uplift us. And there's never been a generation that didn't use our music and our culture to lift us up. And the excuse is where they say, well, we just want to show what's there. But we never just accepted what was there. We always looked at what was there and looked through it and brought our people the way it needed to be. So in slavery time, we were singing Go Down Moses and Swing Low Sweet Chariot. We wasn't singing about the cotton picking nigga in the field. That's what we saw, but that's not what we sang. In slavery, in segregation time, we were singing We Shall Overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We wasn't singing the hoe in the back of the bus. So where is this coming from? And that's what we need to challenge. I wish, all of this about our friend Barack announced it today. I wish Obama had announced here, because Lincoln did not free us. The abolitionist movement freed us. Lincoln accommodated to freedom fighters. He was not a freedom fighter. Kennedy accommodated the king. Johnson accommodated the king. We got to quit giving the wrong people credit for our history.
So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation, you must be disciplined and do studying, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country, Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk, they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it, and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the structural change of this country. What Trump is successful on is playing on a weak structure, so he can make it go either way. It should not be so unclear that you can play the game either set of way. It must be firm that you got to repair the damage done to the children of the slave and straighten out the structure that we are not 3/5 human. We are full human beings that built this country and never got paid. That's what reparations is.
Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimber, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have used the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will in many ways break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So we see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith leaders, like it was in the 60s, that will say it is a moral outrage that we would, in a time like this, disenfranchise wholesale black voters by repealing the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and by turning the time back. We've heard from a lot of groups, but we need this to be church-led. National Action Network is appealing to you, the president. Reverend Dr. Boise Kimber has been on our board for years and knows this well, and the many of you that are on the board. But we need to send a national message in a peaceful, nonviolent gathering led by the clergy, along with Dr. King's son, along with his daughter-in-law, and along with other leaders. But it's time to dramatize it. We see the No Kings March. We see everybody out there rallying. Where's our voice when we're the ones being disenfranchised? We're the ones being attacked. And I think that if we would stand up, the people will step up because the people understand the gravity of the hour.
Reverend
And I think that
Sharpton,
we are called upon. 1-877-532 5797 1-877-532 5797, or you can go on our message board, which is at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, 1-877 626 532. I'm giving the hot line to the National Action Network, which you should call, get on a bus, but call or get on the show is on 877-532-5797. 598-646-9797. James Thomas is on the message board saying, what I don't understand about our people is that we're in the fight of our lives and some of us are just throwing our hands up and acting like we can't do anything about it. I can't accept that. You know, you James, you express my sentiments, right verbatim. We have never been in my lifetime in the situation we're in. And somebody has to beg you to go vote, beg you to go to a march, beg you to turn off the noise and deal with something involved in solving your problem. It is not only unexplainable, it's inexcusable. You have no self-pride, no dignity. If you can allow somebody to just rub your face in the dirt every day like this president's doing, and you have no inkling of responding, it's sick. All right, let's go back to the phones. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go to Disco Brian in Philadelphia, WURD. Disco Brian. Hello.
Hey, Rev.
Hey.
I got that bell. All right. Rev, I want to agree with Brother Jihad that every show on cable, and especially I think we have to pay careful attention to all the shows on the internet, which is eclipsing cable, obviously, should be promoting the March on Washington if they're really about protecting democracy. Because, Rev, you know, far too many white men who claim to be Democrats, and they can be Jewish, they can be Gentile, whatever, but far too many white men and women who claim to speak for Democrats ignore the base of the Democratic Party, especially the largest base, which is black women, which is 93%, and the next largest base after that is Jewish women. And they don't seem to ever invite enough legislative leaders from either of those demographics onto their shows, and they seem to just have a Rolodex of the same white Democrats on repeat over and over, talking the same talking points that we've heard 1,000 times. And Rev, Brother Jihad, one of his favorite mayors in the country, has a massive digital footprint and immense influence. And he's worshipped by the biggest far-left influencers. But so far, I've been scrolling through various accounts of his across the internet, and so far, radio silence from him on this March on Washington, as well as from some of those equally massive leftist members of Congress and the Senate who are joining the march. These are individuals whose entire agenda, Rev, is supposedly supporting the working class, often, as I just stated, to the exclusion of race matters. But, you know, only one of them attended the March on Wall Street last year, and even though that same one that attended the march attended it and spoke at it, that same politician didn't once promote the march where it matters most, on social media, Rev. I have a friend in New York City, quickly becoming a former friend, who has an almost frightening devotion to one of these politicians, or a couple of these politicians. And what has been most alarming, Rev, to notice in this friend over the past year or two, is that her increasingly, I hate to say it, right, because I sound like a broken record, but it's an increasingly anti-Jewish rhetoric. And she'll claim that it's not anti-Jewish, that it's just anti-Israel or anti-Zionist. But, Rev, it's rhetoric that far too often blurs into terms like Jewish influence or Jewish money or Jewish donors. So, in conclusion, I want to give major props to leader Hakeem Jeffries, who has been drawing this line for years. In 2021, he tweeted, "There will never be a moment where I bend the knee to hard-left democratic socialism." And over the weekend on Meet the Press, he says flatly, "I don't support the DSA's agenda." DSA's membership, as I've said, Rev, and I'm sure you know, is between 85 to 65% white. And we're not talking about Iowa or Kansas, but in the most diverse metropoles in the United States. The tiniest demographic of DSA membership is black Americans. So if DSA isn't a MAGA plant, Rev, I got to say, they sure quack like one. Thank you, Rev, for taking my call.
So you think, let me ask you, let me push you on the last part of what you said. You
Go
think
ahead.
they are a MAGA plant, that MAGA really set up this group?
You know, to me, Rev, it doesn't matter if MAGA set it up. I know MAGA didn't set it up because it's been around for 40 years.
Okay.
But if MAGA didn't set it up, I would say this. The Nation magazine printed an article written by one of its co-founders on October 23rd, 2023. And the guy's name is he's a professor at one of the big, specialty liberal arts colleges. I can't remember which school, but his name is Maurice Eiserman, and it was published in The Nation. And the name of the article is "Why I Just Quit DSA." And he said the reason is because of its overwhelmingly illiberal, anti-American agenda, which is aligned with Russia and China, and its overt, what he said was out-of-control anti-Semitism. So for those listeners who haven't seen that article, and Rev, the saddest thing about that article is he put that out in The Nation magazine, the voice of the left, and it was like a weak fart in a whirlwind. Nobody paid attention to it. Nobody invited him on to share his insights on any of the cable news shows. And, it bears reading because that's what he, as a co-founder of this organization, saw happen to the organization he built and had to quit. So anyway, Rev, bless you. Thank you for this sacred show.
All right. Thank you for your call. Let me go to Ray in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ray.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking my call, Rev. Rev, I want to go in a different direction. But before I do that, I want to comment on Jihad. He had mentioned about, I think it was black people, how they were let go by Trump and how many of them that they can get to the march. Well, I want to raise him using a playing cards metaphor. I want to raise him hundreds of thousands of white people, hundreds of thousands of Latino people. How many of them can we get to the march? So I just don't want to focus on black folks. It takes everybody. We got to get this people out of office. But Red, let me say this: changing direction. Donald Trump, he has punked. Now you let me know if I'm wrong. He has punked every CEO of most of the Fortune 500 companies who have made their billions long before Trump ever became president. These companies, they rely on immigrants. They rely on Latinos. They rely on blacks, to survive. And so what they're trying to do here in Springfield, Ohio, is gather up these, I lost my train of thought there. Who are they trying to get out of the country?
Haitians.
Haitians. To these CEOs, what good is having power when you won't use it? Not if you can't use it, you won't use it. Now, let me say this. These Republicans, and sometimes you have to dumb it down to people, because I work out at a gym, and I asked this guy, I said, who you voting for? He said, he's voting Republican. I said, why? He said, well, my family's been voting Republican for years. I said, well, look, I said, now, no senator or Congress is going to go against Trump. That's why we have all these high prices, gas, unemployment. He said, yeah. I said, well, if you vote someone in that's different, what's going to change? He said, probably nothing. I said, well, why are you voting for a Republican? Don't you want low gas prices? Don't you want lower unemployment? Don't you want your country back? He just scratched his head and kept working out. But let me say this. These Republicans, they do what they do, and they let Trump have his way because they know when the Democrats get into office again that they wouldn't have the guts. The Democrat president wouldn't have the guts to do what Donald Trump is doing. First of all, they have a lot more, they're more honest and above board than Donald Trump. So I think these Republicans, they're playing with house money right now because they know when the Democrat president get in, they're going to go back to business as usual.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts, Rev. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you for your call. And there's no doubt about it. I think that we need a wake-up call. Christopher Jeremiah says, I do believe in most extreme leftist DSA is a pipeline to MAGA, light MAGA adjacent. I'm starting to hear that a lot. I mean, there are different factions in DSA, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't infiltrate some of the extreme ones to try and overturn which way it's going. Very interesting point. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. Be right back. Keep it real.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video
to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Is a house of justice. Centering itself the millions to billions, give a sense of value. Our history is worthless. We're not a worthless people. We're not a people that are just some ghetto drugs. You know, sometimes in places that we were desperate. And this one shows us that we are.
How you doing, sir? All right. It's Claudette Williamson from Atlanta, Georgia. And the last time I saw Reverend Sharpton was in New York City at Sylvia's. And my sister and I pretended that we needed to go to the bathroom so we could go in and see him and say hi from a distance. I'm okay. You look great. My name is Claudette. New York City was Sylvia's.
Oh.
My sister told our house, can I get a picture? So we can see. Wave at you. And today Lisa? Yes. Oh, the picture. We're her children. Thank you all. God bless you.
Reverend, it's really great to meet you. And were you in? It's an honor to meet you. Okay, come take a selfie. Thank you.
Take it back there right quick while you momentum. One more, please.
My name is
Thank you, sir. I'm still exposed. How you guys doing? Oh my God. How you doing? Oh, come on, man. I gotta get a photo. All right. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one, man.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back 1-877-532-5797. We are joined, as we are every Tuesday for the last hour, by the senior pastor of the First Corinthian Baptist Church of Harlem, member of the National Board of National Action Network, and author and lecturer, Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron. How you doing, Reverend Walron?
Pretty good, Reverend Sharpton. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. One of the things that is going to be interesting in this election season is I have been saying last couple of weeks that when Trump ran in 2016, and he had some 3 or 4 black ministers out there, some of them countering some of what some of us were saying, some of them calling me out by name. And then they were apologists when he was in the White House in the first term. And I remember this infamous picture of them laying hands on him, praying for him in the Oval Office. I've seen none of that. In fact, I'm wondering, because I'm studying, we got this AI program, I'm wondering whether they were AI Negroes, because I haven't seen them nowhere. I haven't seen them what happened to these people?
Man, I think they realized that the consequences outweigh what they thought may have been benefits of association. Some of them actually killed their credibility because of their association. Some ducked out before I got, as you said one time, some ducked out before I got really bad, but we didn't forget that you were part of the team just because you ducked out. So I think there are many who have disappeared because of what has happened to them, the negative press, the negative publicity, the external critiques, and I think they did that. But I think that's why they're not there now. They know that it is a liability to be associated with this man, especially if you claim to be a African-American clergy member within our community. So, yes, I understand why they're not present now.
And it would occur to me, it would seem to me, that the congregants, people that attend their churches, should be questioning them and challenging them.
Absolutely. I think, we would think so, but sometimes we have these cult of personalities, and Trump is definitely a cult of personality, and people rally around that. Some people actually trust and believe in their pastors who they believe they know what they're doing. But I do think that, yes, those who are affiliated then and may still have minor affiliations should be challenged, because many of the policies of Trump, the actions of Trump, are not in alignment with some of our quote-unquote values, but it's not in the best interest of many of our communities, especially within African-American culture. So they have a right to raise. I do know there's some who lost members because of their association around that first term. So, I think people should be critical, and I think they should decide whether they remain in these spaces that associate, support, almost anoint these persons who are finding intentional ways to undermine our best interests in our community.
Now, it brings me to another part. We have, we're doing a whole national prayer with the Wells family on Wednesday, tomorrow, which will be the birthday of their son, who Nolan Wells, who was, we still don't know how the circumstances. And one of the things that I've tried to do, we get a lot of the ministers on to just have prayer with them, and the whole battle of traditional church and new kinds of ministries has always been some kind of tension, but I saw a lot of it in just making some calls. Well, I'm not in the National Baptist, or I'm not in Progressive Baptist, I'm in this, that, or the other. And I think that the weakening of denominations, that there was a time when I was growing up that certain denominational factions and conventions were dominant, that is no more. I think that there is reasoning that occurred. I mean, you go to conventions now, some of them, the Church of God in Christ is used, but some of them there is almost no attendance. What do you think is the cause of that?
Yeah, I think many of those associations have lost their relevancy, especially with the expansion of black opportunity and other ways to form community. I think those organizations had a place, still do to a degree, especially at a time when we were locked out of opportunities and access. And the more access we had, you start in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you start seeing these dwindling numbers around the 90s and the 2000s from these kind of associations. I'll be honest with you, they ought to be questioned to a degree. If you take the convention, I've been part of the National Baptist Convention past and the Progressive Convention. Our pastor was a leader in the Progressive Convention. Right. That's why I've gotten involved again. But these are not like episcopacies with bishops like the Methodist Church or the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church, where there are mandates that the bishop can declare and it trickles down to the churches, and the pastors have a responsibility to usher in and also lead with the vision of the bishop or the national leadership team. It's not so with the Baptist Church. We base in the autonomy of the local congregation. So when you gather together, there's nothing a president can say that we're mandated to do. So where was a time we would follow the lead at times of the president convention, but these are gatherings to hear preaching, maybe some classes, but there's no national programming, national mandate, national declaration that those churches that have come to the convention have to heed or pay attention to. And if that's the case, it kind of loses its strength. Secondly, some of these gatherings across the board are really antiquated in how they lead it, how they shape it, and what goes on. And so I think they have become irrelevant because they refuse to embrace the kind of cultural shift and transformation. It is not a compromise of the gospel. It is realizing that the gospel is delivered in many ways in this era. But I think they've become irrelevant because they have antiquated ways of engaging, and they really is no way to escort in nationally mandated programs. So I understand why these things are dwindling. And thirdly, there's not intentionality around engaging young people. The largest demographic in our country right now is millennials. Millennials drive our economy in so many ways. And if you're not creating intentional space for millennials and Gen Z, you're going to fade again in relevancy. And I think that's what's happening, Rev.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that you said. And I think that many of us need to wake up to reality and understand that if you are in a different age and a different era, you cannot use what worked at eras gone or situations that no longer exist to keep these institutions going. And there's a reason. I'll give an example right in Harlem. A lot of churches are empty. And they say, well, we're landlocked. People ain't got nowhere to park. Well, they get to 1 Corinthians, your church is overflowing.
Right.
So maybe you don't do enough for people to want to double park. And maybe you don't have enough community outreach where the police don't bother your church because there's a relationship between what is going on in terms of community services and all. I mean, we just take any excuse to drop the ball.
Yeah, I've seen it. I mean, as you said, I'm in Harlem, so I know the challenges that many churches face, and seen the churches that have closed since the pandemic. You know what we do, Rev. So we're deeply embedded in the community. We have relationships with so many community partners, including the police. But again, that's about being relevant. You will always remain relevant in the community you serve when you're in relationship with that community. We build ministry around our community. We take the needs of our community and we treat them as holy. And so when you do that, people see your work, they respect the work, and you'll always remain relevant. But the biggest thing is being in constant conversation with the community to actually see their needs. One of the things you always talk about with 1 Corinthians is our mental health. We started that 14 years ago.
That's
Nobody was talking about it. Well, why? Because we were talking to community members. We were talking about community needs. We observed what was going on, the mental health challenges in our community. So you don't wait until it becomes popular to engage. You respond to the needs of the community. And if you constantly do that, right, you'll always remain relevant in the communities that you serve because the community knows that you take them seriously. I said 20-something years ago, as we were beginning to grow, I said, I just want to say this, as we grow, I never want to be a large congregation in our community that's not deeply committed to the community. I said, so as we grow, our responsibility and our commitment to this community has to grow as well, because you then don't want to be a leech in the community. You want to be part of it and take responsible leadership and also working. And so that's what we've been doing. So it has worked, and I'm grateful because that's who we are.
All right, let's take a break. I'm going to open up the phones. Sharpton, Walron, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back. Keeping it real.
Everyone look here.
Say it again, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights. Voting rights.
One more time, Miss Pearl.
Voting rights.
There we go.
Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. When do we need it?
Now. Yesterday.
What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunity, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they did, started in Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, it ain't some people with the Defense Force together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation. Then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this stuff.
Look at everything. I went a couple of nights to go to the Knicks game. They lost. Last night I said I'm not even going down there. I'm going to go to bed. I got to fly to Hampton on to Chicago. And by halftime I said, man, they ain't going to win this game. They down 29 points. And somebody here today, you've been down. They counted you out. People say there's no way you come back. But I come to tell you, don't quit. Because there's another half to play. And God will take you and let you win when the odds are against you. I know they're talking about you, but preach anyhow. I know sometimes the pews are empty, but preach anyhow. And when you get up almost where you could win, I looked at it last night and Brunson took the shot. It looked like it was going in to win the game, but the shot hit the rim and all hope was gone. But then an African named Boyd OG just stretched through the crowd and he kicked in the winning shot. If you hold on, God will tip your win. This is a house of justice. tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. The only thing that will matter 2 minutes after you're gone is what you did for more than yourself. Think about this. Think about if today is your last day. If this is your last service, what can they say about me? And if you're not satisfied with your own answer, you should leave here today working on yourself and building on what you need to build. Because God is here, He's available to you if you but use what He's giving you to be more than self-indulgent. Now I know many of us come with reasons we won't step out. But I come to tell you that's why God is here. God takes the ones that are the least likely and gets the most done. As I have seen in my life, people that were the unexpected and rejected are the ones that end up the greatest. So don't let whatever mistakes or whatever things that may be in your past hold you back. God is not trapped in your past. Keeping it real, I'm your host. God is there for you. Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And Bruce Turner's on the message board saying no other elected officials are talking about mental health. Supporting your statement, Dr. Walron. I think that, the whole underlying issue in the funeral I did last Friday in Wisconsin was they say that this young man, Colin Ruiz, had a mental health problem, say he had a knife, and they just shot and killed him. And I raised that at the funeral, that police, first of all, they know how to operate with people with mental health problems in other communities. And that's why I came in and accepted the invitation of family, and Nan's going to be involved. But the reality is, and I thought about it, and I thought about the work that 1 Corinthians and you do,
when I was flying back home. The reality is that too many of us are not dealing with it in our community. Yeah, they know how to operate with mental health in the white community. We are in denial and will not support the services, Dr. Warren.
And there are not enough churches that are sounding the alarm and also taking up the challenge and seeking to respond to it. And we know for a myriad of reasons there are people who still don't believe in mental health issues. They use the language of demons or possessed, which is language they don't use with people who have physical challenges. But when they have emotional or mental challenges, all of a sudden it's a demon. So I think part of what it takes to destigmatize the issues is for more clergy to talk about it, more, because churches in many of our communities are still trusted institutions.
Right.
And if the pastors talk about it, people will then realize, oh, this is an issue. So that's how we addressed it 14 years ago. I started talking about mental health issues from the pulpit. I talked about some of my personal challenges. And then we started training people as mental health first responders. And it became part of the narrative in the life of our community. And so people talk about mental health, they talk about therapy. We don't undermine the power of God and the presence of Jesus. But as you know, I hear people say, which is true, you can believe in Jesus and have a therapist. Or as we say, one of the things of the Hope Center is healing is the new black. You know, make it part of who we are as a people to be healed, and not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. We know we still carry the scars and damage of psychological slavery, maybe not shadow slavery, but psychological slavery. And sometimes that healing takes place with the aid of people that God uses in terms of therapists. If we believe that God can use doctors to treat our physical issues, we have to believe that God uses same doctors, psychiatrists, therapists, psychologists to deal with the mental and emotional well-being of people. And so we got to get to a point again, Rev, where it becomes part of our common narrative and more churches sound the alarm and get involved in the issue and the fight.
Now, I'm glad you raised that about therapy. Explain to people what is the need and what is the function of therapy? Because a lot of people have kind of stereotyped therapy, so people kind of stay away from it because they feel to go to a therapist is to commit or admit that they are, not well or crazy. Mm-hmm. When that is not mm-hmm. what therapy is designed for.
No, I think it's language. I think for years we would hear, and even me as a young man, hearing that to go to therapy means you're crazy, or you have schizophrenic, or the things we often hear. And that's not the case. We have to expand what mental health wellness means. Depression is a form of mental health challenge. Anxiety, panic attacks, you can go on and on, are part of mental health challenges. And as I said before, we have to get to the point where we don't judge those kinds. It's like judging people for being emotionally imbalanced at times, critiquing them, saying something is wrong, using language to blame them that we wouldn't use with somebody who walked into the emergency room with a broken arm or sprained knee or some other or heart disease or high cholesterol. You call it. We don't stigmatize people for that, and we don't critique them for going to see a doctor. We think it's actually smart to do so. So how is it we think it's smart to tend to our physical needs but not to our mental and emotional needs? And so, again, I think people have to get out of the stigma attached to it, that if you deal with anxiety, that doesn't mean you're crazy. It means something is going on, some trauma, some wound that is rearing its ugly head at certain times. I remember, Rev, when, and you came to see me after my stroke in 2018, and it actually took place while I was driving, and then when I got to the church, it really kicked in when I had the stroke. And what happened is I hadn't driven a car, Rev, for about 9 months.
Right.
And not thinking, I had to take my wife then to the airport, LaGuardia. And so she drove there, but I drove back. The first time I drove myself, not thinking, Rev, that the first time I drove by myself after 9 months was driving back across the RFK Bridge where my stroke started.
Wow.
And I wasn't thinking about it, but as soon as I got on that bridge, Rev, my breathing changed, my heart was beating, my hands stiffened up.
Wow.
I didn't know what was going on. And it was a panic attack. I never had a panic attack in my life, but it was connected to the trauma of that stroke and where it took place. And that didn't mean I was crazy. My trauma was real. My wounds were real. So that means that my reaction to revisiting a traumatic place were real. And I remember talking to the therapist about it, and it helped me understand what was going on. But that doesn't mean I'm crazy. That means I'm committed to my mental and emotional wellness to understand what happened to me. And a lot of people experience that and say nothing. A lot of people experience depression and say nothing. But we want to change that. You don't have to worry about being stigmatized or looked upon as crazy when you see a therapist. We just got to change the narrative and change our language. Again, if we don't tell somebody who goes to the emergency room with a broken arm they're crazy, don't tell someone who goes see a therapist who has some deep-seated trauma and wounds that they're crazy.
And a lot of people that have these kinds of episodes like you went through on the RFK Bridge don't understand why they're having it unless they get some help. Because you'll, as you said, you'll start saying it's something else. A demon jumped on me or something. No, there's something in your psyche that brought that back that you never dealt with. And I think that you are, people talk about, well, no, I just trust in the Lord to get healing. That is healing. To get somebody to tell you how to deal with a root problem in your head is healing.
Absolutely. And it is healing. And so, again, you just did it. You changed the narrative. Instead of saying something is wrong with you, you say you're healing. For example, at the Hope Center, which is our mental health facility, we call those who come in, we call them hope innovators. So in other words, they are creatively finding ways and paths to their own personal healing by way of therapy. And they're innovative with it. And so that's how we change the language. They're not patients, they're not clients, they're innovators, finding paths of healing.
Let's take our break. I'll be right back. I'll see you on the phones. Let's take some calls before we have to go. Keeping it real. Sharpton, Wall Run. Be right back. Well, thank you, President Dr. Kimber, and to all of you on the board. I wanted to personally make this appeal from National Action Network and Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King, that we've been moving around the country organizing to deal with the question of redistricting when they have used the Supreme Court now to redraw lines that will in many ways break up majority black voting districts. It means that they dilute the strength of our community. It will cost probably 19 members of the Congressional Black Caucus. But as important, if not more important, it will not address the needs of those constituents because they don't have a block vote to say we're going to put in somebody that wants to do what is right for us or not. And that does not necessarily all the time mean a black person, but it gives them power. In Memphis, Tennessee, the majority black district congressman supported and reelected several times by the blacks there was a white man named Cohen. So we see this as an undoing of the Voting Rights Act of 65 and the Civil Rights Act of 64. So on August 28th, we've asked people from around the country to join us in Washington, D.C. for a mass march. We've had some marches and rallies in Mississippi, some in Montgomery and Selma, but we need a national march led by the clergy, led by the faith leaders, like it was in the 60s, that will say it is a moral outrage that we would, in a time like this, disenfranchise wholesale black voters by repealing the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and by turning the time back. We've heard from a lot of groups, but we need this to be church-led. National Action Network is appealing to you, the president, Reverend Dr. Boise Kim has been on our board for years and knows this well, and the many of you that are on the board. But we need to send a national message in a peaceful, nonviolent gathering led by the clergy, along with Dr. King's son, along with his daughter-in-law, and along with other leaders. But it's time to dramatize it. We see the No Kings March. We see everybody out there rallying. Where's our voice when we're the ones being disenfranchised? We're the ones being attacked. And I think that if we would stand up, the people will step up, because the people understand the gravity of the hour. And I think that we are called upon at this point in history to do what those leaders of the black church did before our time and in our childhood. So I thank you, President Kimball, for giving me an opportunity to make the appeal to the board itself. You have the information. We're going to have buses from all over the country. Those churches that have buses, we give information. Those that don't, we're willing to help supply them. But we need to show a big number right in the nation's capital. History should not say they stripped us of everything and there was not a national response led by the black church. Thank you very much for these few minutes.
It is such a pleasure to be here with Reverend Sharpton and this entire congregation on Juneteenth weekend to not only celebrate freedom, but recognize the work that is still to be done to ensure that that freedom is within the grasp of each and every New Yorker who has helped to build this city. Thank you for having me, as always.
I see I'm in today's New York Times word puzzle, and they're asking what is Al Sharpton's title for short. It's Rev. I didn't know everybody knew that. But the people in the New York Times, they didn't call me Rev. They should call me Reverend. No.
Voting rights. Everyone look here. Say it again, Miss Pearl. Voting rights. Voting rights. One more time, Miss Pearl. Voting rights. There we go. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. Voting rights. When do we want it? Now. When do we need it? Now. Yesterday. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now. What do we want? Voting rights. When do we need it? Now.
So we are fighting. That's why I said to deal with this DEI situation, you must be disciplined and do study, because unless you do structural change, we'll keep coming right back to this over and over again. I spoke Wednesday night at Yale University, and I told them students, some of those brightest students in the country, Yale, Harvard, I spoke at Yale, and told them there is a structural problem, which is why Trump and Vance and President Elon Musk, they can come in and put us backward because the structure was never corrected. They walk in the door and say NDI, because structurally they can make that stand. We've got to break the corporate world from doing it and then straighten out the structure of how this country is. Why we ought to be sending people to Congress is not sending them to Congress because they had the robocalls call your house, but they're committed to the...
I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. The Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron is with us, as he is every Tell It Tuesday. Don't forget, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MS Now, both Saturday and Sunday nights, and I do not waste your time. I have the best and those that are in the middle of what the issues are, governors, senators, and experts on every week. And I get the ratings on Tuesday. You really supported the show this weekend again. Well over 1 million people watching over the 2 nights, beat CNN in the ratings again. Keep supporting us. As of the 29th of this month, which is the Saturday after the march, the day after the march, will be 15 years I've hosted that show. And to my surprise, someone was showing me at NABJ that I'm the longest lasting black cable television host in the history of cable. And as I thought about it, I knew this one and that one had a show with it, but none of them lasted. And I'm the one they said wouldn't last a month and a half. He had no broadcast training. Why they giving Al Sharpton a show? Well, 15 years later, most of the critics in the newspapers are retired or fired. I'm going to celebrate 15 years day after the march. So watch Politics Nation every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's keep getting the message out there. Let's keep getting our point of view out there by supporting the show. You that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut corridor, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the new National Action Network House of Justice at 6 Hancock Place, which is really 124th Street in Morningside, right in the center of Harlem. And we're there at 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday. I'm there speaking, looking for you, shaking everybody's hand, communing, and getting ready for the fight. They have other activities all week, but I'm there every Saturday. I'm there sometime during the week as well. For you that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, on nationalactionnetwork.net, on YouTube/NAN, or on AME Zion Network. And lastly, if you've not signed up for the bus near you, whatever city you're in, or you have not arranged for trying to get a bus together, deadline is end of the day tomorrow. Do it right now. Call 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, or you can go online and register right online at nationalactionnetwork.net. It's going to be a huge turnout. People are coming from everywhere. I was informed in staff briefing this morning that we have 7 buses coming from Texas alone. And it's going to take them a day to get there and a day to go back, but they want to be there to stand up, to defend the vote, and send this message so that we can also then get instruction. We're not just going to have a march and talk about what happened in the day. We're going to talk about what is happening now and give people their assignments going back to their respective cities and states to energize for the midterm elections. And we've got so many people coming, the leaders of many civil rights organizations, Mark Morial of the Urban League, Derek Johnson of the NAACP, just Siobhan, Arlene Bailey of National Council of Negro Women. They'll be speaking. Hakeem Jeffries, as well as AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as well as Senator Bernie Sanders among those speaking. About half of the Black Caucus is already confirmed, Congressional Black Caucus. So, of course, join me with Martin Luther King III and Andrea Waters King as we partner Drum Major Institute and National Action Network. Make sure you checked in by today, because we're cutting it off tomorrow. Dr. Walron, what's going on at FCBC?
Well, Rev, the summer's winding down. This Sunday is our last virtual service for the year, for the summer, and this Sunday, rather. And this Saturday is our Hope for Harlem, Rev. 7 years we've been doing this. It is like a block party, but with vendors, job opportunities. Everything is free. It's so much to name. And it is from 12 to 5 on this coming Saturday on 116th Street in Harlem between Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard and Frederick Douglass Boulevard. And everybody can come. It is absolutely free. And I got to shout out one of our partners, DC9, that you know well.
Oh, yeah.
Is one of our major partners with us in this. And so it is an amazing day of celebration, of love, fellowship, but also opportunity and also provisions for people in our community. We have a special section for our seniors, dedicated area, just where our seniors can gather and enjoy the day as well. So it's going to be an amazing day on Saturday, 116th between Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, Frederick Douglass Boulevard, from 12 to 5. Rev.
All right. Well, you know, we just bought the building near you. I might roll through there and surprise you myself.
Come on.
All
Come
right.
on.
Let's go to the phone. Let me try to get a couple of people before we have to go. Let me go to Brother Jacob in Philadelphia, WURD. Brother Jacob.
Hey, peace be unto you. I'm gonna say Reverend Dr. Sharpton and Brother Dr. Warren. How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Good. Good.
Well, you know, y'all was talking about psychological stuff, right? And I'm gonna ask the question and listen. Do y'all see it as psychological when we have black people in a way supporting the leadership that showed us that black people, they don't even want us to vote. They're taking our vote. They're taking our jobs. They don't want to educate us, et cetera, et cetera. And we know about people like Tim Scott and Clarence Thomas. And, you know, remember when Kanye said that, well, now we got Stephen A. Smith. What do y'all think about that? Because Kanye said President Bush don't care about black people. We got a president that don't care about Americans, period. He don't just care about nobody. But what do y'all say about this thing, Stephen A. Smith now acting like he shining boots? I'll listen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Warren?
Yeah. I don't necessarily think it's psychological, although a few of the people you mentioned might have some challenges of commitment and identity more than psychological. It's funny, you raised Kanye West. You quoted him saying President Bush doesn't care about black people, but then he turned around and supported Donald Trump.
Right.
I think that's a crisis of identity. I think some of the names you name, I think there's a difference between having a mental health issue and people who operate out of ignorance and arrogance allied together and completely unaware of who they are and their legacy. You talk about Clarence Thomas, that's a crisis of identity. If you ask me, a person who had access because of affirmative action, who's then committed to undermining and destroying it, that's a crisis of identity. And also wanting the affirmation of people who seek to destroy you and who don't believe in your own humanity. And it was what happens when people live their life under the gaze of white supremacy, seeking affirmation and validation by those same persons. That's what a lot of those problems stem from, as well as, you know, money. There are a lot of people who get a lot of money to be a part or be a mouthpiece for a lot of these people, these conservatives who really want to do harm to the black community.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. A lot of it is a psychological need for acceptance and validation.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't feel that they have enough validation, enough self-worth, that they need to be validated by people that they see as references of power and references of influence. So Trump invites you to the Oval Office. It validates you. You have nothing to say when you get in there. You've got no reason to be there. But the validation is in the optics. And any accomplished con man will know how to play on that. And I think that happened to some of us with Trump and some of the entertainers and athletes who always felt they were not that smart. If I get that validation, people are going to see me as more than a jock. And you need to deal with all of that. It was interesting in my journey, Dr. Warren, in 1981, when Reagan had just been elected in the 1980 election. in '81 they were getting ready to have some of the festivities, and I remember James Brown and Sammy Davis and all of them were had made the mistake with Nixon, so they stayed away from Reagan. So by the end of '81, around Christmas time, I was down in Augusta, Georgia with Mr. Brown, and I said, those Republicans, you ought to help us get the King holiday. And he tells the secretary, get the White House on the phone. And I said, yeah, right. And about 2 hours later, we went to lunch. We come back, and about 5 o'clock, the White House called him and said, President Reagan will hear what you got to say, Mr. Brown. Invited him to the White House on January 15th. It wasn't a holiday yet. And Brown took me with him. And we sat there and lobbied for the holiday. And Stevie Wonder and them had marched, and there were a lot of stuff going on. I say that to say, when you fast forward and Clinton went in, and then Obama went in, and Bush went in, and I was invited to the White House, I didn't need that for validation. I'd been there. I was more impressed I was there with the Godfather of Soul than I was meeting Ronald Reagan. So I watched people who was awestruck that they were there. And to me, I had gotten used to it. And a lot of life is what you have adjusted to or what you are accustomed to. Some men never can adjust to having a relationship with one person because you need the validation of different people telling you that you're a man, because your real problem is your internal self-image. And I think that is why we need to have these kind of sessions with therapists and others to bring out what you're doing. It may not even change what you're doing, but at least you know why you're doing it and whether or not it's healthy for you. Reverend Warren, got to go. All right. I will give you a chance to respond. All right, let's don't forget you in the New York area. Don't forget the Saturday. In fact, you can come to the Saturday Action Rally and still get over to 1 Corinthians in time for noon. We get out at 11 o'clock. You need to bring people and support. That's one of the best events on the streets of Harlem on an annual basis. All right, let me thank Reverend Dr. Michael A. Walron. Let me thank all of you that called in, listening, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real.